Hi, this is Coach Sparks, and welcome back to part 2 of creating a landscape material for Unreal Engine 4. This will be used for version 4.13 of that engine. The older video using a splat map gives you a black landscape. So this is an updated video, so I'm going to show you how to create that landscape material that will fill your whole entire landscape. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead before we import our height map. If you haven't watched the first part of this and you don't have a height map or the controls or the additional files that you need for the landscape, then go back and watch the first part of this video and then come back and watch this. So but the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create the landscape material and show you how to do that first, and then we'll create our landscape, import our height map, and go ahead and apply those textures to it. So you want to go in here and I have this in a folder, so put it in the folder that you desire where you need it, and I'm just going to right click and I'm going to create a new material, and I'm just going to name this River Tutorial Material. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that and open that up, and you'll get this just this output node here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of minimize this a little bit so we can see, and I'm going to drag in some textures first of all, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So the textures that I'm going to use come with the starter pack, so I just kind of move these, copy these, and move these over. So I'm going to use the ground grass and the ground gravel and the rock basalt, and then I'm also going to use the normal maps for all these to kind of give it some texture. And so what we want to do is just drag these in. So with this kind of minimized here, it makes it a lot easier. So we're just going to drag this one in first. So we'll drag our rock texture in. Then I'm going to drag in the grass texture and give it a little room, and drag in this gravel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of get a little extra room here, and I'm going to drag the same order. I'm going to drag the normal map for the rock, and in the normal map for the grass, and then we'll drag in the normal map for the gravel as well. And from there, just kind of pull this up, and we can go a little bit more full screen. So one of the things we need to do to apply all these textures here, we're going to be using these to weight our landscape. So if you have those that slope selector PNGs that we did in the previous video, this is what we're going to use to apply these textures across those maps that we created. So one of the things we're going to need is a landscape layer coordinates. So you just want to drag one of these out. We're only going to need one of them, and it should be this multicolored looking node right there. And we're just going to plug this in. Go ahead and plug this in to the UVs of all of these nodes, or all these texture samples. We can do it for those. Those are our diffuse, and we can just drag it down here a little bit, and we're just going to drag this into the UVs here, and the UV here, and finally for the bottom. And that's pretty much all we need to do. And what I want to do here, if you look over here on the left, you'll see that there's a mapping scale for this, and I found that using with these particular textures and the terrain that I'm using is that a mapping scale of 5 works well. That's how big the texture will appear. You can adjust that to suit yourself, and depending on the textures that you're using, if you're using different textures, you might want to adjust that number right there. But that's just how it will be mapped across everything. So kind of finished with that right there, and now what we're going to need in this same part right here is we're going to need I believe it is a landscape. Let's see if this is the right one. Yes, this is it. So a landscape layer weight. So we're just going to continue to drag those in, and we'll go ahead and drag them in down here as well. So we'll drag in one for each one of these textures, and then we'll get to work on them. So we're going to go ahead and take right here is what we do is you'll take this top texture here. This is going to be where we want our rock to go. So we're just going to plug this into the layer right here. Nothing will go into the base on this top one. And we'll go back and we'll set these in a minute. So we'll go ahead and plug them up. We'll go ahead and plug this one in to the base right here. So just kind of chain it down. And then we'll take this here and we'll just chain it down to this one. And finally, we'll take this last node here and we'll just plug it into the base color because this is going to be our base color. Now, what we need to do for this one, we'll just plug this one into the layer here. And we'll also plug this one into the layer on this node. So now we'll go back up to this node right here and we're going to set a preview weight and we kind of give it a name. So I'm going to call this, since that is rock we're using, just going to call that rock. And we will give it a preview weight of 0.5. That seems to work pretty well. And then we're going to go on this one. And since we got our grass texture, we'll call this one grass. And we'll make that 0.5 as well. And then we'll make this one dirt or gravel. Make that preview weight 0.5 as well. And so then we'll go down here and we'll do basically the same thing with these down here. So we're just going to plug this one into the layer. And we'll go ahead and call this one rock. I'm going to give you rock in for rock normal. And we'll do 0.5. And this will actually give us the texture that we need, or the three-dimensional look that we're looking for. So plug that in there. We'll call this one grass. In for normal. 0.5. And finally we'll chain this one down here into the base. It's into our layer. And we'll call this our dirt. In for normal. 0.5. Now we'll take this, you kind of scroll out there a little bit. You can bring this output node down a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and take this here and plug it into the normal channel right there. And that is going to be all we really need to do with these textures here. So we can kind of move these over just a little bit. We're going to do a couple more things to make this material look nice. Is we're going to add some constants. So you just type in constant right here, and we're just going to drag two of these out. These will let us set some parameters on our specular and also on our roughness. That way we won't get any kind of shininess on our material when we look at it. So this one I'm going to put at a 0.2 or so. You can vary these to get the look you want. We're going to plug that into the specularity. And then on this one here, we'll make it a 0.8. And then I'm just going to drag it up here into the roughness. And that should be about what we need to do. So our material's finished for the most part. If you need to go back in and make some changes or tweak the coordinates and the mapping scale, you can, or adjust these constants, you can do that as well to get the material exactly how you would like for it to be. But for the most part, that's finished. We'll go ahead and save that. And once it's done saving, we can go ahead and close it out. So we have our material called River Tutorial. We'll need that in just a minute. So the reason I created it is so when we import our landscape in, we can go ahead and apply this, and then we can finish up on our landscape. So what I'm going to do is you can go ahead and create a landscape in this level, but I'm just going to go ahead and create a new level using the default level here. And so that just kind of gives us this little platform with a player start, and it's already got the sky dome and our lights and everything in it, so that works well. We don't have to build all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and save this level. So I'll save it in here and just call it a river valley. Alright, and so I got my map saved. Now I'm going to go to the landscape tab right here, and I'm going to click that, and that should give us this big green grid, which is a create new. But we're going to import our file, or import from our file that we created from World Machine. So, or any height map that you have, you can do this with. So we're going to go import from file. It's going to ask us for the file name. So we're just going to go to the wherever you have your height map saved. That's where you want to go. And I have mine in here, and probably... Hang on, let me pause the video for just a moment and find that height map, and we'll get right back. Okay, sorry about that, but here's our River Valley, and it should be an R16 file, so I had misplaced that one. So we're back here, and I'm going to select this one. You can see I got these other layers we're going to be using. Those are the PNGs that we're going to be using in a minute. So go ahead and open that up. And the one thing, then, we'll see that my height map resolution is 253 by 253, so it's a little bit smaller level, but you want to check the parameters for what you need in Unreal Engine. So whatever size map that you want. Good size maps are 505s by 505s, but this one is what I had worked with. And so what we're going to use is I'm going to make sure that this is the material that I'm going to use. And the one thing I'm going to do is go ahead and set the scale here to about 15. That'll kind of make it a little bit smaller. You can adjust this any way you like, but that seems to work pretty good. 15, 20, 25. The mountains don't get too big. So go ahead and when you get this finished, go ahead and click import, and you'll get this right here. And you'll notice that the problem that most people had run into is you get this black landscape. So everything is black. We've got the material should work, but one of the problems I guess in 4.13 is that doesn't work too well. So what we're going to do is you want to go over here, and we're going to go ahead and apply those layers. We've got to create some layer info sections. So we go to the paint option, and I've got a bunch of extra ones here. So I've got the rock, the grass, dirt, and then there's rock normal, grass normal, and dirt normal. So what we're going to do here, I don't think I really need all those. But I want to go here to create this little plus sign here, create a weight blended layer. And it's going to ask us where do we want to put this, and it's going to kind of create a little folder there for that. So we're going to call that rock layer info. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we're going to do that for the grass as well. We're going to do a weight blended layer, and we have that there. And we'll also do it for our dirt layer. Okay, now we'll wait and see. I don't think we really need this, but we'll play around. If we need to, we'll go back in and add that. But all I have to do now is to get that rock texture applied to this is I want to pull in that those black and white maps that I use in World Machine that we exported out. So I want to right click right here, and you just want to click import from file. And so here's my rock layer that I'm going to use. So wherever we see some white, that's where we're going to have some rock applied. That texture is going to be applied to it. So just select the file that you have there, click open, and as it compiles the shaders, what you'll see is you'll start to notice that the rock starts to appear, and you can kind of see it spread across through there. So it's applying everywhere there was white, it's applying that texture. So as we do this for the grass and the dirt, it'll look a little better, and you'll be able to see it easier. So we'll go there. We'll do the same thing for here. So import from file, navigate to wherever you have those files saved, and these should be PNGs. That way you can see them. You don't want to make them height maps, but you want to change them to a PNG format when you export them. That's in the previous video. Open that up, and it'll compile the shaders again. And we'll give it a minute, and you can see now the grass is being distributed across. And we're going to do the same thing for our dirt layer. Import that. Give it a chance there. And you can see now that texture is distributed across our landscape. So we'll go ahead and jump in here. Hey, this is Coach Sparks. Just a quick update on the normal maps right here. Looking at the material, I'll kind of show you real quick. Kind of pause the other video. If we go down in here and look, you notice that the materials look okay, but there's not really too much definition as far as the three-dimensional. So we're going to fix that real quick. So right here where we have these the normal layers right here. We're just going to go ahead and create those as well. So we're just going to go and create a weighted blended layer right here. I'm just going to leave this rock info layer information. That'll be just fine. And we're going to do that for the grass. Normal layer. And also do that for the dirt. And then all we have to do is just go in here and we'll import those same textures that we use for the diffuse layers. We'll just use this rock layer here for the rock normal. And we'll use the grass layer for the grass normal. And we'll also use the dirt layer for the dirt normal. So we'll let that go ahead and compile. You can already kind of see that's already looking better already. So we'll go ahead and save all right quick. And then we'll just kind of jump in here and so you can kind of see how these look. And as you can see, we've got to rebuild the lighting, but as you can see down here, the three-dimensional look is much better. Kind of come over here to some of the grass and the dirt. You can see how the bump map is really working well. So go ahead and do that, and that should make your textures, if you use the normal maps, you don't have to, but if you use the normal maps, that will make all this look much better, much more realistic. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video.